one that hits me the hardest is just like when you go to sign a check for something, how big every check is. You know, you're like, you do the team dinner and you're like, oh, you know, $5,000. You're like,
hey everybody, welcome into Mics Are Hot, special podcast edition. Caitlin Vinci alongside Heather DeBow here in Charlotte.
Hey.
And we obviously did an episode earlier from the Racers Forum. This is the second part of it, and we have all new guests coming with us. The first episode was awesome. Great conversations with everyone who joined us. So we have plenty more of those today. Do you want to say who we've got on the show? Do you remember everybody?
Yes, I know. We've talked to so many people. I got to look and double check and make sure. But we got Mr. Brad Keselowski, Rick Ware, and Jessica Fickenscher.
Yes.
I really like her last name, by the way.
I really like her as a person. We did Women in Wheels on her back a couple years ago for Fox Sports, and she's a very interesting woman. I know we're going to learn a lot from her, as we are the other guests as well. So, again, Racers Forum here with Racing America is an opportunity for teams, tracks, other partners to come together to share ideas about the sport and how we can keep growing it, evolving it, and all of the things. And so it's a really special event they've been able to put on here today.
Absolutely, and we're at the Hall of Fame right here in Charlotte. You can see behind us. We're on the Today Show.
We're on the
Today. Kind of like, you know, we just need the crowd. Where are people at with our signs?
The speed stage signs. Remember, we could just revisit that when they had those big race day signs, and people got really into it.
We got some really good signs. A lot of creativity.
A lot of creativity.
I think we should bring that back.
Maybe
we should.
Or you could go up on a panel. And
suggest it. I'll go to the panels.
You asked me last episode if we had any ideas, and we were bone dry. But now
we've got them. We've got them. All right, this is the idea.
Fine.
We're going to get our guests that are in the auditorium watching these panels to come out and hold signs behind us.
There you go. That's the idea. That's all we got. Anyways, it's going to be awesome, though. I'm really looking forward to having all the different perspectives joining us on the show once again. So it'll be really, really cool.
And we have some big things coming up.
Such as?
Martinsville.
That's right. The paperclip.
The paperclip.
Short track racing this weekend.
I guess it's not really that big of a thing, I guess, because it's so small.
It is so small, but what a cool racetrack, right? It's one of my favorites to go to. I always make the drive. It's only about 2 hours from my house, so it's nice to always just drive down there, Virginia, go take that race in. One of my favorite Martinsville memories, actually, though, was before I was working full-time in TV.
Yes.
I came down to shadow Steve Burns and see the job he did on pit road. He invited me to come out, and it was so interesting to see like what really went into pit road reporting. Because at the time, obviously, I had watched it on TV for many, many years. It's a totally different ball game when you're down there with a pit reporter to see all the things that they're juggling. And Steve was always so gracious to young people who were coming along that were interested in the sport, wanting to get into it, and would take time to do things like that. And I swear I'll remember that forever.
I remember seeing you down there with him. Is that weird? I mean,
and Walter?
And Walter, yes, exactly. I have vivid memory of that, which is so nice. But I still have emails from Steve because I would ask him advice, or he would just send me a note. But one thing he taught me, which I'm going to talk about, because we have some really bright lights on us right now, which we're used to them. Yes. But when you're outside in the sun and you have to do like a stand-up, we can't wear sunglasses on TV.
Is this the eye thing?
The eye thing.
He
so
yes,
you close your eyes. You close your eyes. You look straight into the sun for 10 seconds or something.
And then open them.
And then open them, and
you're
good to go again. So thank you to Steve for teaching us all
and many,
the best
many
tricks.
things.
And what a man. I miss Steve.
So do I. But we reference Walter. We need to give Walter a shout out.
He will be
so stoked. Walter Cox is a legendary pit road pit spotter.
He's the OG. He's actually the mayor of the garage. Did you know that?
He really is. And what people don't know about Walter is he also
there's a lot of things people don't know about Walter.
He is one of the best people honestly I've ever known in my life, my entire life. Invited him to my wedding. And he didn't come. Still mad about that dude. But just one of the greatest humans.
He's
his canning business.
Yes,
though.
that's what I was just going to get into. His canning business. It's like a black market business. So he has his own farm in Tennessee.
Yep.
And so he does canned goods, and he brings them to the racetrack.
Yeah.
And you can't buy them from him. You have to trade.
It's a trade system.
That's why it's like a barter system or a black market system. And he gets little Gosh, what do you
all kinds of stuff.
Mementos, I guess is what we
card
call them.
Pieces of race cars, and he has a whole
sheet metal helmets, racing suits,
cardboard stand-ups, anything and everything.
Stuff. So he has his man shed that he puts him in.
Dude, he's going to be so stoked about us giving him some love. But you totally deserve it, my friend. Because
he's the best.
Well, because some people might not know this, but when you are a pit road reporter, a lot of us work with a spotter who helps scan the radio and the other team's channels to give you information, because it's physically impossible to scan everybody at once.
Right.
So this is like your second eyes and ears, just like a driver has a spotter. It's the same concept, only for a pit road reporter.
Yes, and Walter has spotted for you, and then Walter trained me how to pit spot, and now I pit spot for Jamie Little and also report. So
This
I
is
feel
a
like
full circle moment.
Yes, full circle moment.
We didn't even have this planned, but this came together
but we
really
love us
nice.
some Walter.
Yes, we do. So I look forward to seeing him in Martinsville, of course.
Yes,
'cause that'll be fun.
And we'll have to see how many hot dogs he eats in Martinsville. Because they make a tally, like the teams. It's like tallied up on the board. How many can we do?
How many?
I'm like, maybe a bite? I don't know.
Yeah, what?
I've had one
Oh,
once.
so we're going to get into that a little later
True.
on the racetrack food item.
Yeah.
But one thing you and I were laughing about recently is we've noticed at the races in recent years, I would say, more and more influencers are attending our events, which is great because it helps promote the sport. They're there to kind of showcase our sport to maybe an audience that wouldn't typically see it.
Right.
One of them is West Desperado. This girl is so funny. She posted a video that said, I came to the racetrack for the snacks. And then she panned to what the snacks were. It was all pit
crew guys.
Pit crew guys. It was all like just dudes in the garage, really. Like I don't even know if they were all pit crew. It was like road crew, pit crew. So she has like this montage of all of these guys. We know every single one of them. It was cracking me up watching it.
It was great.
I've never seen somebody go that angle.
Right. But we've talked about the snacks that you and I would like eat on pit road, like during a race. But these are like the actual
She was
snacks.
saying this
but I appreciate it because like. They're pretty good looking. I'm just going to say it. Just going to say it. There's some good looking gentlemen down there on
We've
pit
always
road.
made a joke about the calendar thing.
Yes. Okay.
It should be for charity though.
Yes.
Like they do the calendar.
Like a calendar, like the the hot firefighter calendar, but like the hot pit crew or crew chief calendar.
There you go. That would be
so
funny. I mean, I met my husband out at the racetrack.
You did.
You were there
I
the
was
day
there.
I met him.
Well, I think you probably knew who he was or met him, but this was the day that kind of like all came together.
He was still on the 78 team at the time, and like he was so focused on the race car, like he never would notice me ever walk by, and I'm like, that's so odd. Like that was a little unusual, I'm gonna be honest.
Right.
And so I'm like, okay, well, I would like to meet this person, but he's so focused on the car, I can't even like say hello or introduce myself.
I know.
It was interesting. I got one smile on record, I remember.
One
prior
smile
to
on
meeting
record.
him.
Mark it down.
And I was like, okay, so you're saying there's a chance. I got a smile? All right, we're good. So anyway, you and I were out in Loudon.
Right. This always revolves around food, by the way. See how we're kind of incorporating this? Went from hot dogs to snacks to now we were eating at the Red Blazer in New Hampshire.
Yep.
Her and I were having dinner, and he walks in and she goes, oh,
There's that dude. I was like, they showed up here.
Yeah. And so then we all hung out that night and had a good time.
And what did I text you the next day?
Oh, probably like, he's the one. I'm in love. I'm getting married. I love this guy. I don't remember exactly what you said.
Something to that effect.
Yes.
Yeah. But that's pretty funny.
Yeah. So I can basically claim that I like set you guys up.
You wrote that
basically.
in our wedding card. I remember like I was there from the beginning. This is funny. But yeah, you meet the snacks.
I do that a lot for people.
Yeah.
You know who else?
You matchmaker?
I might be a little bit of a matchmaker, not for myself, of course, but but Hannah Newhouse and Dylan Welsh.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Same kind of situation. I introduced them at the racetrack, but she kind of had her eye on him, and
right.
So I claimed them as well. So at their wedding, she made me a little sign that said matchmaker that I could hang on my chair. So
that's funny.
Yeah. So if you guys need to be hooked up with those snacks, hit me up. I know
you need
who
to
they
hit
are.
up West Desperado.
Help her out.
Yeah, help her out.
Yeah. That's so funny.
All right. Well, we're excited, of course, about the show today, continuing the state of the sport. Also, we're looking forward to all the action that's happening in Martinsville. But every show, we do our fan questions and have you guys weigh in. And this one ties into all of the things somewhat we were talking about, right? You want to take this one?
Yeah. So Adam asked, what is the best racetrack food? So I'll let you answer first.
I do like the Martinsville hot dogs, and I might get some flack for this. I don't know, but I personally do enjoy them because it's like a staple, right? And the hot dog itself has evolved a little bit over the years. You know, they went to.
itself has
Well, I'm
evolved.
saying there was a point in time where they were doing something different with it, and people get freaked out because they're like pink, but they're really good. I mean, I won't sit down and do like 15 in a row, but
Right.
I'll like eat one.
Right.
You know, and it's
Right.
it's like a staple. Like you can't go to Martinsville and not get one.
Yeah. So my favorite food I'm a big dirt track fan. So Manzanita Speedway, which is no longer there, they have the best green chili burritos. And then I love a good Frito pie, which is like Fritos with
Frito
chili,
pie.
cheese, and onions. Boom.
Look at you.
That's it.
Very good. All right. Favorite Charlotte memory. That's the next one. That came from Carter 1214.
There's
What do
been
you
many.
say?
That's our friend Chris Carter. I've had a lot, but I think one of my best memories was when I did audition for the Speed Road Tour team because they flew
Yeah.
about 50 of us here to Charlotte.
That
and I'd
is
never
so
been here
neat,
before,
yeah.
and I just kind of went out and didn't know anybody, and then just riding from the airport in a van with a bunch of people, and then eventually meeting some of my best friends like Michael Foley, Robin Green, Mike Miserandino. They were part of the original crew, and then of course I met you and
Yes.
Gannon Hollywood
And look at us now,
Megan
look now.
LaMontagne and all the Ashley Kelly. Those are like some of
Yes.
the girls and guys that I worked with. But I think that's probably one of my favorites. But there's been so many that it's hard to choose just one.
Yeah, I can't because I live here, so it's not really valid. But we've got plenty to reflect on over the course of this episode. We got guests who are, of course, waiting to join us as well. So let's bring them in, right?
Bring them in. Bring them on down.
And now we're so excited to welcome Brad Keselowski, owner, driver, RFK Racing, to the Mics Are Hot podcast. Great to see you, as
Good to
always.
be here.
I know you didn't know you were going to be here, but you're here, and I'm
Yeah,
glad
no,
you
I'm
are.
glad to be here. Here come the tough questions.
No, they're not tough. I want to start off.
Which
by just,
one of you is the asked the hardest question? Heather does? Okay. So,
No.
all right. So when she starts talking, you're going to see me like sit up.
No,
And then when
Ready.
Caitlin talks, I'm like,
Laid
be
back.
laid back.
you have to lay back.
I want to talk first about your team this year. It's been amazing to watch your organization, all the success that you all have had. What's it been like for you to watch all of this unfold?
A lot of work.
I'm
Yeah, a lot of
sure.
work. But, it's rewarding for sure whenever you have any level of success in your life, whether it be personally or professionally. And, at this level, it's the top level of, North American Motorsports NASCAR is. And, to see the team kind of come together and win races and be in the playoffs. And, we still have a shot at, putting a car in the championship for.
Yes.
That's it's exciting. But it's never good enough. Like you're never satisfied. Like we should won more races.
It's just a
and,
typical racer.
We should have more
never
poles.
happy.
And we're so never happy. But like we're pleased but not content.
That's fair. That's how you got to be, right?
That's kind of how you were when I interviewed you in Vegas because you had a top 5 finish.
Yeah.
You showed speed all day, but
Pleased,
aside-
not content. I'm sitting up now.
that
Here
aside, yeah,
comes the
sit
hard
up and be ready
question.
for this. So
This is actually funny.
teams use code words, right?
Yes.
So you guys, your code words that weekend were Ocean's 11, Casino, and The Hangover.
Wow.
So who's
Very
like the brain
creative.
power behind those? And then are
Did
they
you
themed
come up
every
I
weekend?
know. Gosh,
No?
no. I mean, I think I'd come up with good ones, but really, I just show up in the car and it's already in there.
Okay.
Oh,
So
okay.
I assume that means my race engineer came up with them. Mm-hmm. But I really don't know.
Are they themed every weekend? Like
Yes,
specific to
they're
where you are?
themed
Okay.
to the racetrack we're going to.
Nice. I
Sometimes
like
to
that.
our sponsors, like I feel like that's the lazy one when they're like, we don't have any ideas, so they just use the sponsors. You're like,
The
Yeah.
lazy approach. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
this was very creative. A+ for The Hangover.
yeah, no,
Yes.
it was
Vegas
good.
theme
I
between-
think they had a long plane ride to think about it.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
true. That is a long ride out to the West Coast, no doubt about it. Okay, let's talk about your driver, Chris Buescher, though. Like your expectations for him in these next 2 races in this round, because he has been so strong throughout almost the entire course of the
Yeah,
season.
Chris has done a heck of a job all year, but he's got his work cut out for him. He's got 2 tracks in front of him that I think he would tell you maybe aren't his favorites, and we need some really strong runs or a win.
Okay.
And so, we're giving him everything we got. He's giving everything he's got, and we're excited for the opportunity. But this is the top level of motorsports, and we're trying to be the best at it, and it ain't gonna be easy.
There you go.
And you just said it. I was just going to ask you, what do you say to your team, like to motivate them or give them some inspiration, guide them? Because you are performing at
Yeah.
the highest level in
And you're
with
so
the best of
involved
the
with
best.
your
So-
team.
Yeah.
Like,
So what's my motivational speech?
Yeah,
Well,
do you
yeah,
know
like
this-
especially in this situation.
I
for
feel like
them
I
to
should
make-
be a head coach or something.
Yeah?
Like game ball. You know how they did game ball after
Yeah,
the game?
yeah.
Motivational speech. I mean, ultimately, the moment is now to perform, and they're 2 wins away from a championship, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's realistically win this race and win Phoenix, you have a championship. And so you want to strike while you have that opportunity, and you don't know how many of those chances you have in your life. So you just want to make sure you give it all you got, and you give it all you got, and whether it's good enough or it's not good enough, doesn't matter. But you'll leave fulfilled.
I like that first slogan you said, though. The moment is now.
Yes.
That's good. It's good
Yeah,
stuff.
thank
Profound
you.
thoughts
Thank
with
you.
Brad
I'm
Keselowski.
motivated.
I
Deep
feel
thoughts.
very. I'm motivated to go to the next question,
It's
which
me
is.
and Jack Andy. You know Jack Andy? Deep Thoughts with Jack Andy?
Oh no,
Yeah, but
I don't know.
save that for another day. The
Another
internet
day?
knows.
The internet knows.
The internet knows.
So for you, what was the biggest challenge going from solely just a driver to now hybrid driver owner?
Caitlin, I think just more time, involvement, a deeper level of engagement, more like prodding where like people are like pulling at you. You're like, I just want to watch race film. I know, but we got to do this, this, and this. Like, go away, go away.
Yeah.
More of those moments.
I see.
So it's safe to say between the two hats of driver owner, you like to wear the driver hat more?
The driver hat is like this escape.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
a mental place where you're like,
Comfortable? That's your norm? Like, I
yeah,
feel safe
yeah,
here?
yeah. It's safe space.
Which is ironic.
Yes,
Yes. Yes.
safe space is in a car going 200 mile an hour
Yeah.
with 30 other maniacs. No
You
one
guys are
said I made
maniacs.
the best life choices. All right.
Hey, well,
He said
racers,
it,
we
not
talked
us.
about
We say
it.
you guys are a different breed of
Yes,
crazy.
different breed.
A breed that I
Wired
really
differently.
appreciate. But yeah, you are wired very
still
different.
crazy.
Yeah.
Everyone's
Still
a little crazy.
Yeah,
which is
some more than others. Right?
Some more than others. Let's see. What else was I going to ask you? All right. Biggest surprise of being a team owner so far in the conversation?
I don't know about surprise, but it's the one that hits me the hardest. Is just like when you go to sign a check for something, how big every check is. You're like, you do the team dinner, and you're like, oh,
Yes.
$5,000. You're like,
How much food did we order,
yes,
right?
yes.
How many people are at this thing?
Yes, exactly. Like you
That's
go to
funny.
the tire bill, you're like, $70,000. Like, how many did we buy? And you're like, every bill that you see, you look at it and you go, that can't be right.
That can't be right.
That can't be right.
Yeah,
and it
isn't
hasn't
that
changed
interesting? Yeah.
yet for me, where you're like, that can't be right. So I don't know if that's a surprise, but it's like this ongoing, like, I don't know, running gag for me. Like every bill I see, that can't be right.
Well, we hope you keep cashing in more and more checks because
thank you.
that means you're winning races.
Well, the
and
checks are
performing
bigger.
well.
That part's
That's what I was
nice.
gonna say. At least the
Yes.
But then you get so frustrated because this check is the biggest check I've ever held in my life, followed by the biggest bill I've ever paid in my life.
it's a system. It's a
really
circular
is. You're like-
deal, you know.
Yeah, the numbers are just bigger.
Numbers
Like I
are
remember
just
being
bigger.
a kid, and I worked with my dad's race shop, and I made $20 a day, and I thought
Wow.
$20 was a lot
Yes.
of money.
Your life has
Yes.
really changed.
Yeah, like when I was 14, like $20 today. Like if I work 5 days this week, I can buy a new RC car.
Yeah.
Like I remember that. And
It
now
was a lot
like
of money back then,
$20 is, I mean, not that $20 isn't anything, but now you're
Right.
like, oh, this bill's only $20. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
like-
New perspective
Yeah.
going on
so
here.
it's weird.
Weird. Well, it's been so much fun talking to you. We hope we didn't give you too many hard-hitting questions.
No, it was great. I didn't cry today.
You
which
didn't
was
cry
good.
today.
So,
Yeah, we would definitely not
I
want
was
to make
worried.
you cry.
I thought maybe Heather was going to be like Barbara Walters and she makes everybody cry when
Oh,
they
no,
interview.
no.
No.
I don't want to do that.
None
You
of
don't wanna
that.
do
None
that?
of that
Okay.
today. Different show. Maybe a different podcast. Thanks again. Appreciate
You're
you
welcome.
being here.
Good to
Good
see
luck
you
to you
guys.
the rest of the
Thanks.
season.
Appreciate you.
And now we are so excited to welcome Jessica Fickenscher to the podcast, who, of course, is the Chief Experience Officer for Speedway Motorsports. Quite a title, I might add. Great to see you, and I've interviewed you before, but I have not gotten to interview you since you oversaw the whole All-Star race at North Wilkesboro, which was an incredible project that you spearheaded. What was it like? Because it was amazing for all of us to watch it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness, it was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime career achievement
Yeah.
for me. It was very humbling. We have a great team at Speedway Motorsports, and we had to rebuild a track and promote it in less than a year. So it was kind of a whirlwind. I tried to sit back and think about it, and I remember the start of the race. I told myself I kind of want to take 5 minutes at the green flag and just take it all in and soak it in and absorb it. And I'm glad I did that. It was just like I said, such an accomplishment for Speedway Motorsports and NASCAR, the 75th anniversary. It was just really, really fitting.
Yes, it is.
You
Yeah.
spoke about rebuilding that track. So I guess tell us a little bit more about kind of the challenges or things that you had to do to have it come back to life like it did.
It's like a huge undertaking.
Yes.
Absolutely. So, the track had sat dormant since, the 90s. I mean, there's trees growing out of the grandstands. There's lots of cracks in the track. The sewer line had collapsed. So there's just a lot of things infrastructure-wise that really the fans don't see that we had to get ready to make sure that it was ready for our fans. But, that was the biggest part. We had decided, I think it was September 8th when we made the announcement that we were bringing the All-Star race back to North Wilkesboro. And with the permits and everything, we weren't allowed to put a shovel in the ground until October. So then it was kind of scrambling time. Luckily, we had a pretty mild winter in the mountains, so it was we could continue with construction. I guess the biggest part was we were worried that the racetrack actually wouldn't hold up, and it did, but we're actually getting ready to repave in a couple weeks. So, but, like I said, all of the infrastructure things that a fan wouldn't see, sewer lines, electric,
internet,
pipes,
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi, all the things that are modern now that, in the 90s we didn't have. So, and the facility itself is 49 acres. That includes the racetrack. The average NASCAR facility is probably 1,500 acres. So trying to figure out where we're going to park people, renting land, working with the neighbors. But, everybody, the whole community was great. Everybody stepped up and stepped in. And it really felt like we were building that Field of Dreams at the time.
Yes.
So
I was just going to say, it made me feel like I was just at a local, Friday, Saturday night race with just people that are going out to do it as a hobby. So it had that good feel to it. So it was nice. It felt like home,
amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned that you kind of reflected for a moment before green flag and stuff like that. But how rewarding was it to see it all come together? The stands were packed. I was there, honestly, as a fan. I went in the pits, but I had nothing to do but watch, which was great because I wanted to be able to kind of take it in. Was that very rewarding for you, that moment?
Absolutely. And I think the biggest rewarding part was you couldn't walk 8 feet without somebody coming up to somebody with a Speedway Motorsports or North Wilkesboro Speedway shirt on saying, thank you. My grandfather took me here. My dad took me here.
So
I'm taking my daughter here now. I'm taking my son here. I'm with my dad and my grandkid. It was just a goosebump kind of moment. Like, people were just so appreciative, and we really brought back these amazing memories that people had from when they were little with their grandfather or father, and now they could share them with their children. So it was really, really special.
That is neat.
And it's so important just to be able to do that. We were talking about it a little bit earlier that, bringing the old school fans, keeping them interested, but then also bringing new eyes to the sport. And that's so challenging. So why is that important to you to be able to do that? But then what are the challenges with doing that?
The biggest thing is, we, as fans age out, we need new fans to replace them. So, and NASCAR is such a family-oriented sport and such a family-oriented event that it's, when people bring their kids and everything, then they're going to want to carry that tradition on years later. I know my parents are getting older. They can't keep doing the same things that they used to do, and you kind of have to keep making sure that we're replacing them. But you also still have to make sure you're kind of keeping up with some modern things so that these newer, younger fans are going to want to be able to want to be there, not just sit on their sofa or go find something else to do. So it's a balance.
I was just going to say, it's a hard balance to find. But you guys have done a great job with it at Speedway Motorsports, because I think about all the new tracks we've gone to in recent years that you guys have been behind this with Circuit of America, Charlotte Roval, all of that. What's that been like to be a part of? And how do those meetings go when you guys are sitting down to really think about, okay, where should we go next? How can we make this happen? Because you guys have led the big charge on that.
Yeah, and I think it's because, our founder, Bruton Smith, he was no stranger to innovation and taking really big chances and leaps. And the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. And Marcus, has that same kind of mindset as his dad did. The Roval, I think, was probably the biggest challenge or obstacles we had to get through to be able to prove to NASCAR and to the teams, hey, this can work, we can do this. Took a lot of selling, a lot of meetings. The COTA, Circuit of the Americas, Austin's a great market. NASCAR was super excited to be there, so that was a little bit easier. Working out a deal with the folks at COTA was easy. A good relationship there, good business relationship. So that one was a little bit easier than the Roval, but Austin's a great market to be in for the sport. So
yeah,
you mentioned your boss, Marcus Smith. Can you describe him in one word?
Gosh, one word.
You might not be able to.
No, I mean, he's just a really good leader. He's a He is a kind person.
Yes.
He's smart. One word would be hard.
Well, I'll give you a couple
Yeah.
more then.
Yeah.
You covered it.
Or just describe your time with him, because you've been with him a long time.
Yeah,
his right hand.
Over 20 years. I feel like we kind of grown up together, like through the sport. But he's just always has this calmness about him. He just always, carries himself very well. How you see him in the public is how he is behind closed doors. He's very authentic and genuine, and just a good person. Really cares about his employees. Cares about the fans, cares about the details. Sometimes that's good.
Sometimes stressful.
Sometimes stressful, but yeah, he's just, he really is a lot like his dad. His dad really cared about the details. Always drove through the fan zone, went in all the bathrooms, just made sure there's toilet paper in there, paper towels, and that kind of thing. And Marcus is very much like that. And he grew up, picking up cigarette butts there, and that's how he started. So he's definitely come through the ranks.
Such a great story.
Yes.
Yeah.
Also, Bruton. I vividly remember this. I was working at Texas Motor Speedway at the speed stage, and I was handing out flyers for our show times. And this
He pulled up.
nice-looking car,
Yeah,
he
I
pulled
remember
up.
this
He was
too.
driving around the midway, and he just rolled down the window, and he's like, "Hey, how's it
was
going?"
Like a black town car or something.
Oh yeah, it was
He's just
Cadillac.
cruising around.
this guy. And unfortunately, at the time, I was still very new, so I didn't know all the big players yet. So I'm like, who is this guy? What is he doing? But he was like, hey, how are you? I'm like, hey, you want to come to the speed stage?
But that's a testament to what you're saying. Is they both, no job is too big or small for
That's
them.
right. That's
a
right.
great way to be, though. And speaking of that, you obviously are a married woman with a family, and you're juggling your job, and that's a lot on your plate. And it's just, how do you manage and balance all that?
My husband, just having a good partner, kind of divvying, splitting things up, divide and conquer. I will say when the kids got their license, it made things a lot easier. So
good to know. Yes.
It's kind of like they almost didn't need me anymore, except to write checks or something. But
Funny how that works.
Yeah, but and a work environment that allows you to have that balance. And there's no question when you have to leave to go to a game or a school event or a sick child or take any of that stuff. There's never any question. So I think it's a balance between great partnership with my husband. We support each other in all we do, and then having a good boss and work environment and peers that support you in what you do.
I love that.
And you kind of have a unique work environment because you sort of work together because your husband works with the Performance Racing Network, which is all under the SMI umbrella, if you will. So what is it like working together with him on projects? Good, bad? You guys?
Well, we really don't interact a whole lot.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we really don't. It's so funny. Like I'll be I was in Vegas and somebody said, "Well, where's your husband?" I'm like, "I don't know. I left the hotel at 6 a.m. I haven't seen him since then." So
because you're both doing your own thing.
We are,
which is exactly how my husband and I are. 'Cause
Exactly.
You're just going about your business, but it's nice though to be with someone who understands the industry and like all the things that you're managing and navigating, right?
Yep, 100%.
Yeah.
Does that bring you guys closer together? Because I know your one of your sons, JC, has a podcast too. So he's almost like working for PRN as well. Like it's like all a family affair.
It is. Yeah, I love it.
Yeah. No, I guess it makes it easier, because like you said, he does understand, and the hard part is having the same schedule in the dog. Then we got to figure out who's going to watch the dog. That's probably the biggest
There's always one
hurdle.
factor that's like hard.
Yeah. And then we can't leave Jack out, though, because I do want to talk about him as well,
Yeah.
because he's playing, I hear he's a great hockey player.
Yes.
Yes.
So
we had to ship him up north. There's not a lot of great hockey in the South, so he lives. He's a senior in high school. Goes to school up in New Hampshire. So, so he's doing his thing and really excelling. And
That's awesome.
Is he there
For
all by
a
himself? Who's he with?
well, he goes to a prep school. So,
Oh, okay,
yeah,
okay.
yeah. So he lives with a bunch of other hockey players.
Nice. Well, good for him. Talent runs in this family.
Yes,
no doubt
it
about
does.
it.
Yes,
so
it does.
We obviously are at this racing forum to talk about the sport, state of the sport, what it can do better, how we can change it. Are there different things you guys already have kind of on the docket that you've been looking at, maybe tracks in the future, or just different things you guys are working on, if you're allowed to tell us?
Yeah, I mean, just, like a little bit of drop in the bucket. We, Speedway Motorsports and NASCAR have a really, really great relationship, Marcus and Lisa and Jim France and Ben. So there are a lot of discussions always going on of, what could be, if, like where could we go? How can we work together to bring a track or bring a race to, city XYZ? So that conversation happens a lot. And, would never be surprised to see if we're at a new venue in a new market in the future. So those conversations definitely are always happening. NASCAR is always looking to grow. Again, we had a super great relationship. We had a big NASCAR meeting in Charlotte the week of the Roval. Then Speedway Motorsports and NASCAR general managers, track presidents came in, had a great meeting with Steve Phelps and Marcus, and just a lot of great conversation, and really excited about what the future is going to bring for the sport.
Good things on the horizon,
Yes.
it sounds like. So
Yes.
on this show, we always ask what fuels you, what motivates you the most?
Seeing the fans have a great time, and then seeing our employees have a great time. As a chief experience officer, it just doesn't relate to the fans. I also do a lot for our employees and employee satisfaction, and we have very little turnover. So to me, that says a lot about our company. So I think those two things, just seeing people happy, having a good time. We're in the memory making business. We're, a lot of these events are bucket lists for people. They save up their life savings to come to a race, and we need to make sure that we are giving them that experience when they walk back to their car and go home, that they don't regret anything.
I love that.
We'll give you one opportunity to give a little last pitch to Charlotte, because you've been with this speedway for more than 20 years. You actually co-wrote a book about the history of it. So what would sell someone on coming here to this racetrack for the first time, or maybe a favorite memory that resides with you?
I think in Charlotte's so different, right? Where the home, so is Daytona, but a lot of the drivers live here. I think it's all of the things that go on that we do at the track. The teams have their drivers coming out in the fan zone, and there's autograph signings. We have a great trackside live stage where people can come and see it. So I think getting people to kind of not just watch the race, but experience everything that goes on around it, it just kind of seals the deal.
And we're so excited to have Rick Ware joining the show now, of course, owner of Rick Ware Racing. And I want to start at the very beginning with you. Racing with your dad, Ware & Sons, right? Was the team you were obviously
Yes.
a part of. What do you remember about those early days of racing? What stands out to you?
Well, I remember, being in the garage and working on motors and different things, 6, 7 years old, with whatever I could not hurt myself to do. But, even then there was a passion being around motors, cars, wheels, everything. My uncle was into motorcycles, so we work on race cars, during the day, evening. In between any off time, we would go out motorcycle riding, go-karts and that kind of thing. So I
Nice.
think it was just embedded from an early age. And, we took my go-kart to the drag strip at 6 years old. And so I actually, during one of the intermissions, got to stage the go-kart, do the Christmas tree, the lights, run the whole quarter mile, get the time slip, which, I remember it being really fast, but it probably took a day and a half in the go-kart, right? But I was just hooked then. I mean, anything to do with racing and motors.
We're at the Hall of Fame. It's loud, and we're going to make you put this a little closer to your face so that we can really
Alrighty.
hear you. What do you got, Heather?
Well, transitioning to a little further down, because you raced yourself, but did you ever think that you would own teams in motorsports and across so many different series at
Right.
that?
No, that was never on the radar, and I have to say, I don't know many drivers that ever dream or wanting to achieve to be a car owner. I think drivers want to drive,
Right.
and car owners typically were the guys that couldn't make it driving. So, fast forward, we didn't make it to where we needed to be in driving, and the decision had to be made to. Instead of getting a real job, so to speak, to stay in racing and use the knowledge and develop a team. And I drove for myself the very last year or two of racing because of the typical problems with sponsors and getting enough to go to a team and to find a team. And for sure, I've told people, if you're a driver and you start a team, that's pretty much the beginning of the end, because it's just almost impossible to do. So we kind of morphed into growing from the truck series and kind of went from there. So Heather never attributed any goals to wanting to do that. But I always loved the marketing aspect of it, and that parlays a lot into what it takes to survive now. I just tried to use all the skill that we had just in and about racing to get to where we are.
You mentioned growing from trucks. Now you've done NHRA, AFT. You've kind of dabbled in so many different forms of racing. How enjoyable has that been for you? Because you've gotten a taste of a little bit of everything.
It's great for me because I love motorcycles. I love every form of car racing as well. I raced motocross very seriously at a younger age, and the time kind of came to decide whether we pursue that as a profession versus car racing. And I knew enough. I wasn't really good enough to make it to where I needed to be, but I was fortunate enough to race in places like the Astrodome and the Superdome back in the days when I lived in Texas. Cool. And so I have just a real soft spot for motorcycle racing, period. And but cars where it kind of went to the next level. But I love it because as a racer, you want to win and you want to be competitive. NASCAR is kind of our cornerstone and what we've done for years, and it's kind of the 800-pound gorilla, but it is the most competitive series on the planet, and it takes a substantial budget, and it's great when we can go compete in other series and be able to, when we show up, we know we have a shot to win. We're really working hard on our NASCAR program. Every year we're making great strides, but that's not for the faint of heart.
Oh, I bet not. Yeah.
You spoke about your soft spot for motorcycles, so I have to ask, because I used to cover American Flat Track. This was your first season involved. You had Briar Bauman on Super Twins, and then, of course, his wife, Shayna, on the singles class. What went into the decision of getting into flat track, first off, and then why did you choose the powerhouse husband-wife couple to go with?
Well, so there's it all comes full circle. This is really such a small garage, so to speak. First off, I've always loved I love motocross, but I loved oval track motorcycle racing, because to me it's like Martinsville, but on two wheels. And when I lived in California, we used to go to the speedway races a lot, which were in Costa Mesa and at Ascot back in the day. So I love, and having done very little of that myself, there's a lot that parlays into oval track racing like a car. It's a little bit different than jumps. There's a little bit more strategy involved. So I loved it. I remember before I moved back to North Carolina, or right after I moved to North Carolina for NASCAR, I got to see the mile race at Del Mar in California, which was, I don't know, that's decades ago. But I just love the drafting. I mean, it's two-wheel Daytona. So the opportunity came about with some people kind of introducing me, like, hey, we know you love racing and motorcycles. What do you think? About a year and a half ago. Couldn't make it really make sense financially at the time, and I didn't want to do it unless we could go win. We had Scott Taylor, who runs or helps manage the Wheeling prototype, was friends of mine. He used to be Ricky Carmichael's manager.
Oh, yes.
He reached out and says, hey, man, there might be an opportunity. What do you think? And, man, about a year later, back and forth, it kind of opened up that door. But I'm so happy to be with Briar and Shayna. They're awesome people.
Yeah, some of my favorites. Some of my favorites for sure.
So just like you've worked in different divisions of motorsports, you've worked with a lot of different drivers. When I was looking at the list, I was like, this is so many talented drivers have been a part of your program. Is there anyone that stands out, or a memory that stands out from someone in particular?
Well, it's amazing. It's a tough one to answer because it's a staggering number. When you go to Racing Reference, I look at it and I was telling my wife, I'm like, how did this even happen, right? But it's always cool to have some Formula One guys drive, because that's kind of the in vogue thing to do right now.
Right.
That's really cool. But we've had a lot of people in racing that have driven for me. Trent Owens, who's the crew chief, he drove for me back in, I think it was 2001 for a handful of races. I don't know. We've just been blessed to have a lot of people. I want to say it's be hard to pick somebody.
You don't have to pick. I just was curious if anyone stood out, because I was floored when I saw the list myself. I've always known you had many, but when I actually looked at it, I was like, wow, that's a lot.
And then across all disciplines, I mean, you got riders and drivers to choose from, so many good names there. But is there a motorsport series that you haven't gotten into that you would like to, or would you ever go like stick and ball sports and start a different kind of sports team?
Well, the entrepreneur in you always looks at things like that. I think, a friend of mine, TJ Aspire, they have a couple hockey teams, and I like it from the standpoint of, I know they're thinking, they're trying to cross-pollinate their sponsors. You get this sponsor, you bring them over. So I like that whole aspect. We're that's probably out of my pay grade right now, I would say, to go down that avenue. But the different venues we love to do, and we're marginally successful in making it work, and it's continuing to grow, and it makes us a little bit unique because you have to fight for that space, and you have to have a story to tell. And it's tough just to say, hey, for us to have a top 20 or top 25 on a regular basis in Cup, that's a win. I mean, we're high-fiving.
Right.
But marketing-wise, there has to be more than just that, and it helps to have winning teams as part of the RWR footprint, so to speak. So that helps, the whole package.
So it's a smaller run race team, of course. So what is that dynamic like? Because, it's obviously different than, say, a Hendrick Motorsports or something like that. What are some of the challenges you feel like you have to deal with that maybe some of the other teams don't?
Well, Robbie, keeping him happy is the first thing.
Tall order.
Yeah, that's right, tall order. We brought Robbie Benton in about a year and a half ago, and we had talked for a while, and he likes challenges.
Yes.
And I think didn't realize quite the challenge that he was taking on, but he's been real instrumental in helping us be able to grow. And for me to be able to focus on the continued building of the program, it's it's a massive amount of work. It's a fantastic thing to be able to get done. We need more people. We need to grow, and we battle that every day. But I will say that all the people that are on board probably do the work of two people. Yeah. And we do a good job for what we do.
Absolutely.
But we all do all of it. I'm putting decals on. I'm ordering pistons for different series, from the drag car to the motorcycles. Robbie helps with graphics. He's, managing. I don't always get to multiple races on the same weekend, but last year Robbie left England when we just won the first round of the WSX, and he flew an all night, landed at Charlotte, and got there as a green flag was dropping at the
Dedication.
Roval. Wow. So, it's good that he was there because we had to solve some problems and make some decisions. So, as always, it's all about people.
All right, we're going to have some fun with you here. So we're going to do some rapid fire questions. You spoke about venues. You go to a lot of them. If you could only attend one marquee or crown jewel event the rest of your life, only one, what would it be?
Oh, man.
Rest of your life. This is a very big decision.
It's a tough one to start on. I'm so sorry.
Oh, my gosh. That's tough because I'd say as a venue, I'm going to pick Indianapolis because NASCAR runs there and IndyCar runs there.
Okay.
Because I love both of those. And if you've ever gone to the Indianapolis 500, that's a huge event. And the Daytona 500 is a huge event.
That's
so
right.
I'm going to say that just because both series go there.
Okay. All right, 2 or 4 wheels?
Man.
I'm giving you the tough
man,
ones. I'm so sorry.
You're tough.
I want to go right in on it.
Man, I'm going to almost have to pass. It
You can
depends
plead
on
the fifth. How about plead the fifth on
It
that?
depends on the week.
option,
Some weeks I'm ready to throw in the 4 wheels and some of the 2 wheels. But,
Right.
But I'm going to say overall 4 because that's what I did as a driver, and that's where my, at least my initial somewhat lofty goals of wanting to be are there. So 4 wheels.
That's
Okay.
fair.
Okay. So racers, they're obviously wired a little bit differently. You've got
Y'all are
NHRA,
crazy. Yep.
IndyCar, flat track. Who has the biggest cojones?
Okay.
Out of all of them.
well,
Answered that question before?
I tell you,
all her.
the man, these are not simple answers,
not.
and
They're
I'll tell you
not.
why. Because I have taken some of the guys that have the biggest cojones to the starting line of a fuel race, and they back up.
Right.
And they're like 330 miles an hour in 3.5 seconds.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
And but then you go on the floor of a Supercross and you see some guy. I will say when we were running some Rookie of the Year stuff last year at Indy, seeing some of those guys go flat out, with the car trimmed out for multiple laps. Same thing too. If you're at a 1.5 mile track with the NASCAR, if everybody's wide open, it's easy. But if you're not really wide open and you're trying to, that's when it becomes different. I'm gonna say, man, I don't know, man.
It's okay.
I'm so sorry to
It's
put you on the
tough.
spot like that.
Those are great questions.
She's
but
hard with those rapid fires
Yeah.
sometimes. But that's good. We appreciate you playing along, and it's so great to have you on the show and hear all your insight. Thanks
Yes.
for all your contributions to
Man,
NASCAR. It's been so fun to watch.
Fantastic to be here. I appreciate both of you very much.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that was another awesome day of interviews and talking to people. Brad, he's so funny. Like, and he making the joke, he didn't even know he was joining us, but he did a good interview.
He did.
I love listening to him talk, and like the differences between team ownership side with Brad Keselowski and Rick Ware. You know,
Yes, very
But
different
similar
perspectives,
stories.
similar stories. I like talking to Brad about the different hats he's wearing, signing those checks and getting the
signing
checks.
the checks. I know.
That's a lot to handle
He,
for sure.
He also told us we need to look up our show name on Urban Dictionary. Should we look it up and make sure of what's on there?
I think we're already stuck with what we got, so
We're good.
if it's on there,
If
and
it's on there, I
something
don't
bad,
know.
Oh
We'll
well.
have to take a look
We're
at what
fine.
that could be.
We're
It's
fine.
fine. So we're off to Martinsville
Yes.
coming up this weekend.
Yes.
And will you be there or you're not
No,
going?
I'm actually off.
Okay.
I will be in Phoenix for
We both will,
championship weekend. We
yes.
both be there. Which
That'll
will
be
good.
awesome. Can't wait for that. That's where some champions will be crowned. But I hear like a lot of activity happening
Yes,
right now.
I think there's a cocktail
Cocktail
hour
hour?
going on, so we
So-
might have to go get us
The-
one of the Tyrones.
Tyrones from Ty Norris. Yeah,
Yeah.
the very festive cocktail he shared with us. So
Yes.
we may do that, but we'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.